Most ancient ruins get explained eventually. Someone finds a tool, a text, a tomb, and the mystery quietly closes. But there are structures on Earth, huge, obvious, sitting right out in the open, where archaeologists still genuinely don't agree on how, why, or even who built them. No aliens required, just real, documented gaps in the story. Let's start with the strangest and work our way toward the one that rewrote the entire timeline of human civilization. Number 5. The caves with no history at all. In 1992, 4 farmers in Longyou County, China, decided to finally drain a pond that local legend called bottomless. Once the water was gone, there was no pond. There was a massive hand-carved cave stretching nearly 100 feet down into the sandstone. They found 23 more nearby. Each cave is enormous, some over 100 feet wide, supported by carefully placed stone pillars, with every single surface, floor to ceiling, covered in uniform parallel chisel marks that would have taken stacks of labor to create. Engineers estimate the total excavation removed close to 1 million cubic meters of rock, work that would take 1,000 people, working around the clock, roughly 6 years to complete. And here's the part that actually stumps historians. There is no record of this project anywhere. Not in local chronicles, not in imperial archives, nothing. A construction effort on the scale of a small pyramid, and it's as if it never happened. Pottery found in the silt suggests the caves are at least 2,000 years old, but nobody knows who ordered them built, what tools were used, where all that excavated rock went, or, strangest of all, why caves built side by side, sometimes separated by walls barely 20 inches thick, were never connected to each other. Number 4. The stones cut too perfectly to explain. High in the Bolivian Andes, at over 12,000 feet, sits Puma Punku, part of the ancient Tiwanaku civilization's temple complex, built somewhere around 500 to 600 AD. The site is scattered with massive andesite and sandstone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, cut with a level of precision that looks almost machined. Perfectly straight edges, uniform depths. Interlocking H-shaped blocks so consistent they could be swapped with each other and still fit perfectly, like ancient prefabricated parts. Some blocks even have small, remarkably uniform drilled holes running in neat rows. Mainstream archaeologists have a working explanation that Tiwanaku artisans use stone hammers and grinding techniques, slowly pounding and polishing the andesite into shape. And that's likely true as far as it goes. But here's the honest gap. Despite extensive excavation, no tools capable of producing this level of precision have ever actually been found at the site. Researchers have run experiments recreating the grinding technique, and it works, but it doesn't fully explain the exact uniformity seen in the finished stones. So the wall gets built, the tools stay a mystery. Number 3. The stones too heavy to move, that somehow got moved. In Lebanon's Bekaa Valley sits Baalbek, an ancient Roman temple complex built on top of something far older and far stranger. In its foundation is the trilithon, 3 limestone blocks, each about 62 feet long and weighing somewhere around 800 tons apiece. Nearby in the original quarry sits an even larger stone, nicknamed the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighing close to 1,000 tons, and one discovered in 2014 that's estimated at over 1,600 tons, making it possibly the largest cut stone block on Earth. A fully loaded Boeing 747 weighs less than half of that single stone. Engineers have proposed legitimate methods: wooden rollers, earthen ramps, teams of hundreds or even thousands of workers using rope and capstans to haul the blocks uphill from the quarry. It's mechanically possible. Other massive stones have been moved by similar means throughout history. But no consensus exists on exactly how it was done at Baalbek specifically. No tools or transport equipment have ever been recovered at the site, and ancient writers barely mention the construction at all, a strange silence for a project this massive. The stones sit there today, fitted so precisely you can't slide a blade between them, still functioning as a kind of open question that engineering keeps almost, but not quite, answering. Number 2. The lines you can only see from the sky. Coastal desert of southern Peru, the Nazca people carved hundreds of lines and enormous geoglyphs into the ground between roughly 200 BC and 600 AD. Animals, plants, human-like figures and geometric shapes, some stretching over 1,000 feet across. They did this by simply removing the darker surface rocks to reveal the lighter sand underneath, a method so simple it's not the how that's the mystery here. It's the why. For decades, researchers assumed the lines were astronomical, a giant calendar tracking solstices and star positions. Later studies pushed back hard on that theory, finding the alignments were no more accurate than random chance would predict. Other researchers now argue the lines were tied to water, ritual paths leading toward water sources in an extremely dry region, walked during ceremonies asking the mountain gods for rain. Some evidence supports this. Some doesn't fully explain the animal figures. As recently years, researchers using drones have found over 50 additional undiscovered lines, meaning we're still finding new pieces of a puzzle we haven't solved the old pieces of yet. The truth is almost more unsettling than a single explanation would be. A civilization spent enormous effort on art that can only be properly seen from the air, and after nearly a century of study, nobody can say for certain what it was actually for. Number 1. The temple that broke history's timeline completely. In southeastern Turkey sits Göbekli Tepe, a site so old it doesn't just challenge one detail of history, it challenges the entire sequence we thought we understood. For decades, archaeologists assumed the order of human development went like this: first agriculture, then permanent settlements, then surplus food, and only after all of that, organized religion and monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe breaks that order entirely. Dated to around 9600 BC, it predates pottery, it predates writing, it predates metal tools, it predates the wheel, and most importantly, it predates agriculture itself by hundreds of years. The people who built it were hunter-gatherers, nomadic, with no permanent villages, no domesticated crops, no farming of any kind. And yet they organized enough manpower to quarry, carve, transport, and erect massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing over 16 feet tall and weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in at least 20 circular enclosures decorated with detailed carvings of lions, snakes, and birds. Before this site was excavated in the 1990s, most archaeologists would have said this level of organized, monumental construction was simply impossible for hunter-gatherers. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Some researchers still believe it was built as humanity's first temple, a sacred gathering place that predates and possibly even sparked the invention of farming, since feeding the workers may have driven the need to cultivate wild grain nearby. Others now argue it was closer to a final gathering point for hunter-gatherer bands resisting the shift towards settled life altogether. The two camps don't agree. What they do agree on is this: everything we thought we knew about the order civilization arrived in might be backwards, and the proof of that is still half buried in a hillside in Turkey. 5 structures, 5 sites still keeping their secrets. Cut stones nobody can explain the tools for. Weights nobody can fully explain the transport for. Lines nobody can agree on the meaning of. And one hillside that quietly rewrote the opening chapter of human history, built by people who, as far as we know, weren't even supposed to be capable of building it yet.